Hello friends, good to see you again through this video today. Today I wanted to talk about this topic. God will lead your children in the same way He led you. See, today as a parent, most often we are very much concerned about our children, right? Or we are even very anxious about what is going to happen or how this is going to go forward, like how my children are going to sustain in this world. Like that, there are so many types of concerns parents do have about their children. For example, if you are a very young parent expecting a child, right? So you will be very anxious about the pregnancy, right? Like how the delivery is going to happen, whether I'm going to have a safe delivery or not, like that. And then after the child is born, once he or she comes grows up to a school going kid, right? Then we worry about whether my children will do better in school, whether they will be able to study their lessons well, and whether they will shine in the school. Then later on, when they go for higher studies, we think about their future, about whether they will get a good jobs, how they are going to sustain themselves in this world. And then we think about when they are going to get married, they are still not able to find a suitable partner. Likewise, on and on, as a parent, we always keep thinking about our children, right? And sometimes it creates more anxiety within us, because many times the circumstances that we see in their life can be a little bit frightening for us. But today, the Lord is promising you and me this thing, that the way He led you and me in our life as a parent, right? Let's think about it. The Lord was good to us all through our school days. He gave a good delivery to our parents, right? We were born safe, and we were born safe into this world, and God gave us all the provisions, protection, and He gave us the right kind of job, and He gave us the right partner, life partner, and then He also gave us this beautiful children in our hands today. So when God has led you and me in such a good way, so why is that we are having trouble in believing that the same Lord who led us all these years, who has been faithful in our life, will be also faithful in the lives of our children, right? That is the question. That is why you need to understand it very, very clearly. One verse put it very clearly in the Bible. If you read the book of Isaiah chapter 46 verse 3 and 4, the Lord says like this: hear to me, hear, O Israel, what I am saying. The Lord wants you and me to hear this very carefully. He says, when you were born, when you were formed in your mother's womb, until the end of your age, I am the one who is carrying you, who is sustaining you. I will strengthen you, and I will comfort you. So He says that He is in complete control of our life. So as a parent, we feel it is very easy for us to believe this verse, right? We take this as a promise in our life. But at the same time, we should also believe this promise for our children's life also, right? Because the Lord who created you and me as a parent in this world is the one who has created our children also. So the Lord says, the same way I led you, the faithful way, you have seen my faithfulness. So your children will also see my faithfulness, is what the Lord is saying today. See, when you look back in the history of Israelites, right, they celebrate a lot of festivals. For example, the Passover, and there is a festival called Purim. So if you really look back the meaning of this festival, why they are celebrating this festival, right? Because the Lord wanted them to it was an intentional command given by the Lord to celebrate this festival. Because for one reason, he never wanted the later generations to forget what He did to the older generations, right? For example, if you read in the book of Exodus chapter 25, right? If you read from Exodus chapter 12 verses 25-26, it is at that time the Lord was about to deliver the Israelites from the bondage of Egyptians, right? So He called that night, the day before He led them out of the Egypt, He called that night as the Passover night, right? When the angel of death passed through that city, but all the Israelites people were saved by the blood that was on their doorpost. So why Lord asked the people to remember that again and again, even when they enter into the promised land? Because He wanted the children of the future generations to know the great deliverance that brought to his forefathers, right? The same way, if you see the festival of Purim, it was actually described in the book of Esther. If you read in the chapters, right, in the book of Esther, you can see Haman. There was a guy called Haman who plotted, against the Jews, and he wanted to destroy the Jewish community. So it is at that time the Lord intervened, and he used Esther and Mordecai to save the people of Jews, and that is why the festival of Purim came into existence. So they always wanted to remember the hand of God delivering them from the wicked hands of Haman. So today, my dear friends, as a parent, as a father and mother, let's think about this. How much faithfulness that we have seen, like how much of God's faithfulness we have seen, and how many great victories that God has given in our lives. How many times he would have saved us from debacle, and how many times his power, his mercy would have saved us, and how many times his grace would have sustained in our lives. For example, I am 36 years old, which means, to an extent, right, like, in the last 10 years, I've been a parent. So I know, how the Lord has led me all through these years. So I'm confident that the Lord who has led me all this way will also lead my children in the future. The same way, you could be a parent at the age of 50 years old or 60, 70, 80, whatever the years, right? You always have an experience with God. Because God has led you in your life with so many ups and downs. You have seen the mountains, valleys, you have seen the hills, ups and downs. You have seen, good times, bad times. But one thing that we can be assured of is the faithfulness of the Lord remained the same forever, right? He did not leave us. He did not forsake us. He is holding us until this day. So that is what we need to understand, realize that when we think about our children also, we need to have the assurance that the Lord who led me until this day is faithful enough to lead my children also. So even if I go out of this world, even if I am going away from this world, I am going to be with the Lord, I can be confident that the Lord is going to lead my children, and He knows how to take care of them and their descendants, right? So that is what psalmists say, very beautiful in Psalm 103, right? He says like this, if you read Psalm 103, right? He says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, bless His holy name, bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all His benefits, all the good things that He has done in our life." See, when we tend to forget all the good things that He has done in our life, that is when our circumstances, our problems and our situations come in front of us. It looks, the reason why we often tend to forget the past victories or the past great things that God has done in our life is, our focus is primarily on our current situation and current problems. We think that today's problem is going to finish us off. Today's problem is going to derail our life, and we think that we are going to be forsaken by the Lord. But just think about the faithfulness of the Lord, how He has led you and me as a parent all the way until this point in our life. So how can He forsake our children also, right? He will never do that, right? That is why His word says, if you read in Psalm 103 verse 17, He says, the grace of the Lord will be upon them who fear the Lord. And then He says, and His righteousness shall be established among their children and their children. See, the Lord is not willing to take care of only your children. He is also willing to take care of your grandchildren, right? See, that is the faithfulness of the Lord. See, that is why we need to be assured today that the Lord who led me in a faithful way, in a true way, in a loving way, the same Lord is never changing. He is the same God yesterday, today and forever. He is the Alpha and Omega, and He knows what is the best for my children, and I am sure the Lord will definitely lead their life also. When we have that kind of an assurance, peace, joy and happiness, right, then that brings a lot of happiness in our family, and we can be definitely sure that our children will stay blessed in this land forever. You all have a blessed and a happy day. God bless you.